Hey y'all, I'm Jessica from Crossworded. I wanted to talk to you today about the issues of so-called misinformation and so-called debunking. I say so-called because I'm not really defining these terms, but we are in the middle of a pandemic that keeps dragging on and on and on. So we're running into a lot of new information all of the time and a lot of conflict, and I think it's important for us to address these ideas. To give you an idea of my background, if you're not familiar, I was a freelance business and political reporter for 12 years and have worked in communications. So that's where I'm coming from. And I wanted to kind of give you a few things to look for, a few cues or red flags to look for when you're running into new information. One of the issues with so-called misinformation is that it can tend to be a little bit one-sided. So it's very easy to pick it apart. Now, a lot of times, whoever's doing the video or interview or article will attempt to gain a contrasting view from the other side, but they may not put forward a lot of contrarian evidence to support another view. So, and they may be saying perfectly true or good things, but this becomes an issue and it becomes easy to pick apart because they're not giving both sides of the story adequately. So one thing that you can do if you're not sure, if you read an article and you're not sure about it, is beyond just Snopes and some of these other fact checkers, you can look for a contrary opinion or a contrasting opinion. And one of the things to look for, or one of the things to always do when you find this contrasting opinion, is weigh the quality of the voice. So, is it a mocking tone? If it's mocking, perhaps why is it a mocking tone of voice? Does it leave out important context that didn't address what you saw in the contrasting opinion? So those are some things to look for. As far as so-called debunking is concerned, sometimes what you'll see is a habit of mischaracterization. Or sometimes not even a mischaracterization, but just a habit of using pejorative terms to try to discredit the whole of the argument. And those pejorative terms may or may not be used fairly or accurately, but they're certainly not neutral. So that's something to keep in mind, is that it's not necessarily going to be coming from a neutral source. So you want to look more for dispassionate sources that are kind of writing or speaking straight down the middle as much as possible. Another thing to look for is, does it pick apart what's being said and take it out of context in order to make the dissenting voice look like it's saying something that it's not? So that's a big red flag to look for. A lot of times, quite honestly, what you'll find in so-called misinformation videos or articles is cherry picking of evidence, of studies. And they may or may not be perfectly good studies. But that's a problem. So it's easy to pick that apart. And very often, someone who is debunking this so-called misinformation will fall into the very same thing, into the very same pattern of cherry picking studies to support a contrarian view, when in reality, specifically with coronavirus, there's still a lot we don't know, and the evidence is quite mixed on a lot of things. So it's fair just to say that, but they go a step further and cherry pick their own studies. And finally, when you're looking at these different voices, you always want to look at who is defining the terms. So who's calling it misinformation? Who's calling it debunking? And why are some reasons they might be interested in doing that? So those are some keys, some clues, some red flags to look for when you're weighing the quality of information that comes across your airwaves or your screen or whatever. I hope that it helps you. I know that there's a lot of really confusing information out there right now. I've been in communications and it's confusing to me, but I really want to be, as much as possible, a resource to help people figure out what they're grappling with. So I hope this helps you. And I look forward to speaking with you next time. Thank you.